your insight is encyclopedic.
I've always been a bit of a total geek. Every single day I'll watch at least one football match.
You'll always have a notepad when you're watching a 90-minute game of football.
Oh, 100%.
Wow. Let's talk about the YouTube channel.
I'm really proud that I built the community I built on YouTube.
How big is your team that runs it?
It's absolutely huge in that it is one. It's just me.
You?
Yeah, just me.
You do absolutely everything.
I'm a total control freak and I'll never ever get an editor.
I love that. You've broken into the mainstream as well, haven't you?
I find it really difficult to show my personality when I'm on TV.
You were diagnosed, I remember you telling me, with ADHD and autism.
I'd have quite a lot of comments about it. It's a constant challenge. Don't get me wrong, like it can be debilitating at times.
Yeah.
But then there's also aspects that I love about being it.
You are absolutely everywhere now. Do you want to name drop some of the people you've interviewed quickly?
I've met Terry and Mia a couple of times. Berbatov, I was so proud of that.
The best place you've ever watched football in the world.
I'm going to say that the best place is...
Hello, welcome along to another episode of Inside the Industry Unfiltered with myself, Adam Smith. Delighted to say, joining me on the show this week. We've been trying to arrange this for a while, Nieve. Apologies, I had to cancel previously. We've finally got you in the hot seat. It is Nieve, aka StuntPegg. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, not bad. I'm pleased to do it. And I'm pleased there's air conditioning as well, because it's quite a warm day, isn't it? There's a lot that I want to unpack with you. Obviously, I've known you for many years. You've come on Saturday Social. I've really seen your content sort of elevates the next level. Like, you are absolutely everywhere now. And I've obviously followed quite a lot of that journey. So I want to take it back to where you started, sort of growing up. Where did your love for football come? What's your earliest memory you can remember getting into football?
Played in the park when I was a child.
Yeah.
My dad used to take me to the park and we'd have a kick around. And then it was one of my sort of top favourite things to do, socialising with friends, was going having a kick about, playing Kirby.
Kirby?
Where you'd try and kick the ball and hit the curb.
Oh, right.
On the other side.
Yeah.
And then Wally as well.
Wally, off the wall.
Yeah, off the wall. Yeah.
Clues in the name.
Kirby and Wally. And then I just loved watching it as well. I've always been a bit of a total geek in that when I used to watch games as a child, and I've reignited this now, is I do match reports of what I'm watching and like scout reports of what I'm watching as well. And so I've always done that too.
Wow. From an early age you've done that?
Yeah.
What age did you start doing that, would you say?
Ooh. I think probably high school age. So maybe sort of like 12.
Wow.
13, yeah.
So is that where that sort of encyclopedic knowledge has come from?
I'm quite lucky in that I've got, because even from before I was doing that, I was very sort of on it with football and wanting to know more, quite inquisitive about it.
Right.
So I'm lucky now that as I'm trying to build my knowledge of football, I've got like nearly 2 decades worth of pre-existing love and knowledge for it, and now I've just got to build on that kind of thing.
So would you say you've always watched football on a sort of different level to friends, family or other people? You would never just watch a game, you'd study it, you'd make notes. Were you always looking at football in a more analytical way, would you say? Maybe
not on the pitch necessarily, but I've always been really interested in human beings. I've got a love for history and the meanings behind music, lyrics and stuff like that.
Oh, right.
So football was just like an extension of that, is in that. That's why I'm obsessed with football documentaries and sort of get into the roots of the why people do things kind of thing.
Did you play football?
I did, but
what were you like?
I was, do you know what, right? I had to stop because I was good up to a certain age.
Yeah.
And then this is how seriously I took it. I just wasn't good enough to do what I wanted to do. Do you know what I mean? So I just thought, right, I'm just going to stick to 5-a-side because I won't get
position.
Did
you have a position that you played?
When I played 11-a-side, central midfield, but I wanted to be the one picking the ball from the centre backs, getting it forward. Yeah. And I just didn't have the legs for it.
This episode is sponsored by Borderlands 4. Now imagine being dropped onto a planet ruled by someone called the Timekeeper. No rules, no mercy, just absolute carnage. That's Borderlands 4, and it is everything you'd expect from the series and more. You're one of 4 vault hunters, each with your own mad powers, custom skills, and some, quite frankly, ridiculous weapons. You can go solo or squad up online with your mates in 4-player co-op. And thanks to level scaling, no one is getting left behind. Oh, and this time it's set on Kairos, a brand new planet where time itself has gone a bit crazy. So, what are you waiting for? Pre-order now and you'll get the Gilded Glory Pack, a free bonus full of shiny gear. But only if you lock it in before the 12th of September. Borderlands 4 is rated PG-18, so grown-ups only. Search Borderlands 4 now or head to your usual shop to pre-order it now. A huge thanks to Borderlands 4 for sponsoring this episode. Make sure you check out the game. Let's get back to the episode.
In terms of growing up, I know that you speak, I see so many interviews you do, you talk in glowing terms about family and your mum and how much they meant to you. How big a part was that in getting into content? Because you're in a career that I suppose certain people of a certain generation, when you say this is what I'm doing for a job, will have a certain opinion of that. So how supportive have they been in your journey starting out in content?
Yeah, my mum and my dad are two really big ones. My dad was the one who got me my first computer so that I could edit. And he had like so much belief in me, yeah, 1,000,000%. And we talk all the time about my aspirations and stuff. And I had so much self-doubt myself.
Did you?
Because I think where I grew up, not many people do anything like this, like even comparable to this. So the idea that I could actually do it and open doors, I wasn't really sure. But he really had my back. And then my mum, just from if anything goes wrong or if I'm upset, she's the person that I can sort of sound off to, and she knows exactly what to say.
Yeah. So do you think without that support, you might not have given content a go then?
Yeah,
without that belief in you?
Yeah, because it's one of those things that when you see somebody and they've already kind of made it or got to a certain level, you don't see all the stuff that came before that and all the things that go wrong. And it could be very easy to just call it a day and give up.
Yeah. Let's talk about that then, because I'll come on to talk about how well you're doing now and everything you are doing, because I've worked quite closely with you on a few projects. So in terms of starting, what was the first video you did and the first time you thought, and at that point, did you think this is what I want to do as a career, or was it just a bit of fun? Talk to me about that sort of mindset.
Yeah. So my dad and my uncle Tony went to the Euros in 2016 to watch Italy.
I was there in France.
We were there. Yeah. We went to the Italy Republic of Ireland game. In Lille.
I was at that game.
We were at that game.
Yeah, I was also at the England-Iceland game, which is still to this day one of the worst performances. Yeah. But it did introduce me to the Thunderclap, the Icelandic fans, which were amazing in Nice. That was, I think.
Imagine we walked past each other, both in our hooligan groups.
That didn't happen. Go on. So sorry, you were.
So we were there. I was there anyway, and I just fancied filming it, but it was more just. It's what I'd seen people do. It's like I'd seen other YouTubers who were good doing. I just wanted to do what they were doing, kind of thing. It wasn't for 1 second thinking this is going to do anything.
Yeah.
And I didn't really do anything then for a while. It was only when I was at uni that I then reignited it, because I wanted it to be a bit of a portfolio for sort of sports reporting.
Oh, right. Was that what you wanted to get into originally then? Sports journalism? No,
not originally. I originally wanted to get into something to do with history, maybe history and politics. I wanted to do that sort of degree.
Okay.
But the problem was that was only me thinking of the short term about what I wanted to do next and what I was interested in. It wasn't me thinking about my career path. And I think that's the sad thing about having to pick so much when you're a teenager still, having to sort of, it's crazy how much you're sort of between 16 and 21 basically could shape your entire life.
Yeah, I agree.
When you're that young.
I agree with that. I remember going to careers chats at like 16, asking, what do you want to do for your life? I was like, I don't know, I'm 16. And it's like the pressure that's put on you. Yeah.
With the careers, I don't know what it was like with you, but with the careers advisors that we were taught to and that the generations before me were taught to, my mum included, you'd have these big aspirations. And often they'd be like, well, actually, I don't think you could do that. But right now in the area, we could do with teachers.
Right.
So we'd like you to do that instead, kind of thing, which I really didn't like. But that, I think that's very indicative of working class towns.
Is it?
Yeah. How can we advise you to help us instead of advise you to help yourself?
Was that a big challenge then in terms of going into that sort of stage, like where your background? I've heard you talk about that before. That your background was it something you wanted to prove that I can be a trailblazer? Do you see yourself as a trailblazer, by the way?
It's weird. Do you know what? In some ways, maybe, yeah. I'd say in terms of as a woman opening doors, I'd maybe say that I'm in like the second wave. I think the generation before me were the real total trailblazers. Okay. They were the ones like shoving the door open, and it's a little bit open then for me to walk through, and it's made my life a little bit easier. But from a working class perspective, I'd say that because there's still so much room for improvement, and I still feel like I'm in the real minority in a room, being from a working class background. Yeah. So I would hope to see the next generation and generation after that get more opportunities, and then maybe I'll feel like a trailblazer. But until I see that, I just feel like a small fish in a big
That's
pond.
a really deep way of looking at it, actually, because I mean, you will be inspiring young women like yourself from working class backgrounds to emulate what you're doing. There's no doubt about that with the success you're having. But it's interesting that you're looking at upon generation upon generation. It's quite a lot. Do you look long term in a lot of what you do?
Yeah, I think it's in my head. I'm thinking constantly like, how can what I'm doing be more than just talking about football? Do you know what I mean? Like, how can I actually have any sort of legacy, and how can I, when I'm at the end of my career or whatever, how can I look back and where can I be proud, kind of thing.
Interesting. Wow. And in terms of, so you've done the Euros, you've done university, you've got a passion for football. I'm intrigued to know, when was the stage when you thought this actually can be a job, a full time? What was that moment? Was there one video that banged, so to speak, that went viral that you realised you've got a calling for this, or was it just enjoyment? That was it.
I think actually, no specific video, but it was when I first moved out and I moved to Newcastle.
Yeah.
That was when I was 19, 20. And I thought, well, I can look after myself. I've got my own responsibilities and I can make this work, kind of thing. And it was actually great to move to Newcastle because it's an amazing place, but not just that, it's a heck of a lot more affordable than Manchester or London where I am now. So it was a nice stepping stone to get used to that responsibility, and then you sort of carry on.
And in those days, how natural did you find presenting, vlogging? I'm looking at the content you do in the channel. The first time you're doing that and you're putting yourself out there for comments, people to talk about you. How natural did you find that?
Content creating, found that quite
coming up, the ideology and stuff like that.
Yeah, I found all of that. I was really comfortable with.
Yeah.
I still think to this day though, presenting, I've still got much to improve. I don't like yourself. You are so skilled in presenting, and I've come to realize in the years that I've stepped more into mainstream that actually that is blooming difficult.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
To be the actual presenter, I think you've got to have a real special set of skills, and I still don't think I've actually unlocked that side of things. I'm usually on a panel with a presenter.
Yes, understood. But I would say a lot of that comes with experience. I look back at the first time, my sort of big break, so to speak, in presenting was when Max Rushton had food poisoning on Soccer AM. I've told this story before. And my producer said, you're presenting the show today. And that was Soccer AM in its peak, live, 2 hours. You're outside, you're inside, there's music, there's live football, there's fans. It was, I'd never done, I think I'm right in saying never had an earpiece before. I'd done bits of autocue, never really, but I'd done interviews with players going into that. But that was a real out of your comfort zone moment. Now, I think I did quite well. I had nice feedback and it's opened the door for me becoming a full-time presenter. But I look back at the presenter I was then, I was nowhere near the presenter that I am now. And I'm not saying I'm finished article even now, but I think all of that does come with experience. I don't know if you find the same with the first vlog you did compared to now, how much more natural you find it. I don't know if you can agree with that.
Yeah, because you once you sort of more back yourself more, don't you? And you're in there. You're like, you know what, I'm someone with experience, in doing this. And you know, and I think as well, the more you do stuff and the more different people have got kind words and positive stuff to say to you, it does make you think, do you know what, right, I'm going to back myself, kind of thing.
Your name StuntPegg, there's an interesting story behind this, isn't there? So for those that don't know about it, can you just tell us the story?
Yeah, childhood nickname, because StuntPegg's on the scooter skate parks, but then also my surname's Patriziello, but my surname when I was at school was Pegg. It was I was born Patriziello, but people couldn't pronounce it, and it just irritated me.
Did it?
So I changed it to Pegg whilst I was at high school just to make life easier.
Just to make life easier.
And then I've changed it back to Patriziello. So it's
I never had that issue with Smith, luckily. Adam Smith, I've got a very mundane name. So would you like to change your YouTube name? Do you like your YouTube name? Because a lot of people I hear say they wish they'd had their own name, because it's very common in that space to have a nickname or a different name. So where's your sort of mindset on that?
I'm in too deep now with StuntPegg. I think it's just that. But what I quite like is I think the two versions of me are quite different. So like the version of me you get on YouTube is very different to what you get on Sky or on the mainstream.
In what way? I'm intrigued to dive a bit deeper into that.
I find it really difficult to show my personality when I'm on TV.
How come?
Because you've got usually you've got your set things that you need to talk about, and it will be football, obviously, and that the focus is getting your points across in football. And it's funny, that side of me is the perception online of what people say is it's quite serious, she's quite, you know, whereas on YouTube, where I'm in total control, I can be a little bit weird. I can, you know, show you bits of my character, can show a bit of humour kind of thing. And it's a very different version of me.
So there is a big difference, you think, between Nieve and StuntPegg?
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Because I feel a lot safer on YouTube as well, being myself, because I've built a community that know me. So they expect that. They expect for me to be a bit wonderfully weird kind of thing.
And I think for those that aren't aware with regards to, obviously I'm across TV, YouTube, so I've experienced both sides as you have. Often with TV, there are things like time limitations. Obviously I have to ad breaks at certain times. So I know what you're saying with YouTube. If you're doing a video, you're blogging, that it doesn't have to be 12 minutes and 35 seconds. It can be 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You'll obviously ultimately make that call based on what the audience want, but you feel there's a bit more freedom in that side of what you do. Yeah.
And also because a lot of the stuff that we do on mainstream, people aren't watching that. They're not interested in you telling a dad joke. They just want us to know what you think about this midfielder kind of thing. Yeah. So just stick to what you're talking about.
Do you know what? I know what you mean, actually, your channel, because you do go down the comedic route a bit on some of your content, don't you? Like you'll be watching and educating us about, well, I think of the one that I was in a video that you did at Dorking last year, I think it was. And you'll give an insight into the club and the team. And obviously I've got seasons that I'll go down quite a bit, but then you'll do something quirky about crisps or hot dogs or something. And I think that's part of StuntPegg, not Nieve, right? Is that an example?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, a lot of the best way I can describe it is I made this year I actually made the Accidental Partridge Twitter account.
Yeah, tell us about that. I did see something about that.
That was an exciting moment. But the mad thing is,
of everything you've achieved, that's number one.
I've never seen Alan Partridge.
Have you not?
No, I've not seen it. But I think so. One of my big comedy influences is Philomena Kunk, who I think hers is Alan Partridge. So I think I kind of there is a reason there where people think it might be Partridge. But that was Swindon, not Wyndon, and that's the whole point. And that one made that. But I think, imagine if I said that on mainstream, people just wouldn't know what to do.
No.
And I'm really tempted to try and drip feed that into it. But I think if I did that, I'd have to go all out. I couldn't half lean into it. I couldn't do Swindon, not Wyndon, and that's the whole point, and then start giggling to try and make people comfortable.
I know what you mean. It's knowing the audience. I know exactly what you mean.
Because otherwise it's not funny. Like the whole point with it is that I think that sort of awkward, dry humour, the whole thing is you're trying to make people feel uncomfortable. So you need it to be as awkward as possible. So I would love to bring it into mainstream, but I would have to really back myself. A bit like Amelia de Moldenberg with her. She fully leans into it. You can't half that.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean by that, actually. That's what I find intriguing about that is I know you as analytical knowledge, football, insight, but in only the first sort of 10 minutes of this podcast, you've spoken a lot about the comedic route, the passion, the comedy the difference between Nieve and StuntPegg. Is that a goal of yours then, sort of long term, to actually, I'm not saying branch out from football, but do it sort of balance football with comedy? Do you have a passion to get into comedy? Is that something on the horizon?
Yeah, I think comedy is something that, I've got so many ideas of places, sets, characters.
Have you, like sketch shows?
Yeah, sketch kind of thing. So all my favourite shows growing up are all such simple comedies. Like my absolute favourite comedy is The Royal Family.
Yeah, brilliant.
And the Mrs. Merton show as well, both Caroline Aherne. And, that sort of stuff, I think a modern adaptation of that, because if Caroline Aherne was still with us, it'd have been her doing it. She'd have taken over the world probably. But I think there's a real, there's a space there for, there's always a space, I think, for a heartfelt British comedy. And it's, the whole thing is celebrating the extraordinary in the ordinary. Yeah. And I think I do that in my content within the football space already. Yeah,
that's interesting. That Peter Kay, is he a influence for you as well?
Love Peter Kay.
I love Peter Kay as well. I saw him not long ago, actually. This show is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So is that something you're planning then? Is that something you sit down with your people and say, look, I mean, this sketch show, is it something you're piloting, you're talking about, you're scripting, or it is just an idea at this stage?
Just an idea at this stage. I think I've still got lots I want to achieve within the football space. And maybe even it's not a case of going from this to that, but trying to find a route there. So maybe on the way there, instead, I could maybe do interviews with people within football. Yeah. And I can try and get into my StuntPegg character in those interviews instead of being like Nieve Petruzziello in there.
Yeah.
I can try and, have those sort of, I want conversations where you bring these big names in the world of football and beyond, and you just bring them down to, not bring them down to earth in a sort of malicious way.
The humanistic level.
Really get to know them as a human.
Yeah.
And sort of, I just think the conversations you hear when you walk through the streets of Northern England growing up, they're the most just nonsense conversations, but in the best way possible.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, what have you had for your tea?
Yeah.
How do you want to bring that to big
It
names?
sounds like this is a big goal of yours,
100%.
the comedy angle.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard you talk about this either.
Yeah.
And it's interesting hearing you again talk about Nieve and StuntPegg being totally different characters. Almost like, is there a world we see in 5 years where you're going to have multiple different things or characters as part of your persona? Do you think that is a possibility with you?
I think so, because I wasn't aware that there was opportunities for me to branch out into anything beyond the football career that I've carved. But the more I talk to people when I do shoots, like producers that do football and non-football stuff, and they were sort of saying like, there's no reason why you can't like branch out.
Yeah.
So I feel like now that I've sort of got into the industry through football, once you're in, you could do anything.
How do you think your audience would react to you sort of diversifying into something different, going down the comedy route? Do you think they'd come along with you? Do you think they are there because of the football insight, or is it a bit of both, do you think?
I think maybe the audience from mainstream probably would maybe not be as interested.
But your subscribers on YouTube.
But I think my subscribers would be, because a lot of my content on YouTube is not really about what's going on the pitch. It's about the people in the stands anyway. So it's very much human based. Yeah. So this would just be me exploring different ways that humans are humans.
That's really interesting. What was your mum and your dad's reaction then when you're saying, I'm doing that? That's some of the early trips, because you are young, inexperienced in that field. You've got no help with anyone. You've got no editor, even security or anything like that, or logistics or any help in terms of, getting around. So what is their reaction when you're going out, traveling around Europe, staying in hostels, and you want to do this as a career? Were they always supportive?
Yeah, but the problem I've got is that I forget to like tell people what I'm doing. So it's
like, I'm in Riga.
Yeah, by the way. So the only time that I ever spoke to my mum, I would have a phone call with my mum and we'd be chatting about, she's going to the pub quiz tonight. Yeah. She's had shepherd's pie for tea.
I love that.
I'm about to have pizza. I
love that.
Oh yeah, by the way, I'm currently in Latvia kind of thing.
Do you know, the way you describe that is like a Peter Kay episode. It's amazing.
But I feel like that's like mine and mum's relationship sort of always been like that and I think this is very indicative of sort of growing up where we grew up, is things are just part of conversation. Like going to the supermarket and getting reduced price broccoli in its own way is just as exciting as traveling around the world in its own way. In many ways it is, because reduced price broccoli is an absolute sensation, especially if it's like half price after a certain time. So I would actually rarely keep them up to date with what I was doing, because it didn't come to mind that that's something that I should do. So I would even do trips and then be back, and then they'd see the YouTube video of it and be like, oh, yeah, you went there,
and didn't know you were going there. I want to talk to you about where you are now, because when you were starting content, did you put a timeline on the number of subscribers you want? Did you have goals or targets? And do you feel like you've surpassed your expectations where you currently are in your sort of life and career?
Yeah, I've never had goals in that sense in terms of numbers. The goal is just to constantly be creative and come up with ideas and make content that people talk about and they're like, oh, I really, that piece of content. The best thing is if someone comes up to me and they'll say they've watched it and it meant a certain way to them, or that they've maybe shared it with someone because of that. I just love the idea of that. And then within the mainstream space, just the preparation and doing everything the best I can, so that you're sort of building, not necessarily it's about how many people know you, but what they think of when they think of you. And it's really important that that people think of positive things.
Do you know what? I want to ask you about that. You brought me perfectly onto the next question, actually, because what is the prep like for Nieve? Because I've sat next to you on a Saturday social where you've done conversations about Bastogne, and we back ourselves. I like to think I watch a lot of football. We have the benefit of stats packs, of social media, of meeting players. I consider myself someone who consumes a lot of football, but there are times, and this is the biggest compliment I can pay you, where you are doing an insight into players that play in the Danish league who are 18 years of age, or a critical analysis on Bastoni and the looks. And everyone knows what I'm talking about, because we see that where everyone is going, wow, like your insight is encyclopedic. And I think it's testament to where you are now. How much prep do you do, and what does that involve exactly?
Yeah, so with the Saturday Social, as soon as we're told briefly the sort of things we'll be talking about, that I'm sort of locked in then. And obviously there's pre-existing knowledge that I can sort of lean into throughout a season. But as soon as I find out what I'm going to be talking about, it means a lot to me that when I go on and talk about that I'm actually educating people. What's the point of me being on there? Do you know what I mean? There's no point being on there if you're not going to offer something.
It's a great way to look at it, yeah.
And, I take it massively seriously in the same way that everyone in any walk of life in their profession, if it means something to them, they want to take it seriously. Like my mum's a teacher. She takes that so seriously. It's so important that she is a really good teacher for the next generation of children. Yeah. And it's like that with me in my industry. I can't see how anyone would see it any other way. I think we should all strive to, within this industry, we're so fortunate that we get to talk about football.
Yeah, I agree.
And the very least we can do, especially when it's on subscription services that cost money, the very least we can do is have a bit of respect for the people watching it and try and give them something that's informed. Whether they agree with it or not,
yeah, it might be an opinion-based.
Fine.
Yeah, I get that.
But at least they'll listen to it and think, right, she's not just pluck that out of thin air. There's something behind it.
But in terms of on a normal week then, do you watch every game? Do you watch highlights? Because you have got an encyclopedic knowledge, and that is widely regarded within the football community. So it does seem like you go above and beyond compared to a lot of others. So are you just always watching football? Are you travelling to football? Where does that, I'm intrigued to know where that sort of comes from.
Yeah, every day. There's not a day that goes by that I've not when the season's not playing. The actual season, there will be a few dates here and there, but when there's a season on,
typical Premier League EFL season.
Yeah, then there's every single day I'll watch at least one football match,
and that's a 90-minute football match, is it?
Yeah, at least one, possibly. Well, I try and do more than one.
Okay.
Because 90 minutes sounds like a lot, but if you wake up in the morning and you watch a game, because I don't just watch current games, I watch a lot of football matches from the past as well.
Yeah.
So, you wake up in the morning and that's the first thing you do, like have my breakfast. The first thing I do is watch EastEnders, get my priorities straight.
Yeah, get your priorities right.
And then after that, put a game on, and then I just got my notepad and I'll be
You'll always have a notepad. Sorry to interrupt you. You'll always have a notepad when you're watching a 90-minute game of football.
Oh, 100%. Because if you don't jot things down, you might forget what you've noticed and stuff. So if there's an observation, maybe a player's playing in a different position to usual, or maybe they're playing with 5 defenders as opposed to 4 defenders. And just to maybe do doodles as well. I do like little drawings of what I've seen. I try and do like funny ways of like doing it to remember it as well. Like am I, just like do just
like how you remember the colours of the rainbow, Roy G. Biv or whatever.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
It's a random one, just blocked out. Remember it from
Richard
school.
of York gave battle in vain.
Yeah, there we go. It does stick with you though, doesn't it?
Which is actually technically not funny because,
No, I know.
It's a sad
but it's just what we're taught, yeah. But that's interesting you do that. So how many games, 90 minutes then, not, watching YouTube vids or highlights or things like that. How many 90-minute games of football would you say in an average week you'd watch during a Premier League season?
Between sort of 7 and 15.
So 7 and 15 90-minute games you watch, and you're always making notepads. And I'm intrigued to know, will you then watch the analysis, the punditry as well? Or does it all come from what you want to talk about? Will you make notes based on what you hear pundits say, or does a lot of it come from what you visually observe?
So, and by the way, on top of those games, I will also, if there's a game that I can't watch in full or that I've maybe not got time, it was actually Jamie Carragher that said this once about how he'll watch the first 15 minutes of one half and the first 15 minutes of the second half. Or maybe when he watches a full 90, he'll make sure he's focused on those moments because that's when the teams are fresh on the pitch from their managers' talk. They're in the formation.
Yeah.
The players listen to the instructions. They might practice a few sort of routines to get a goal kind of thing. Yeah. So you pick things up. Insight. So on top of the games, I'll also do that.
Yeah.
Because you can't watch every single game across Europe. But the punditry, it depends if I feel like I'm going to learn something. Because I think that if I think maybe if people might just be saying cliches, or they might, do you know what I mean? Like they might just be saying, it might not really offer that much.
Yeah.
I'd rather go and see what they're saying on online stuff. Like I'd rather go and see what a YouTuber that like James Alcott.
Yeah.
I'd rather go and see what his perspective
He's been a big on James Alcott. He's been a big influence on you, hasn't he? I know that you work closely with him on the Ripple Effect and for the Club World Cup recently. Has he had a big influence on your career on a whole, would you say?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I think the attention to detail that he's got, he's shown that there's a way in, and there's a way in doing it the proper way. And, you know, I think I've got so much more respect for him, even more respect for him after doing the show with him, because, you know, you just see just how much it means to him, that it's about offering a good product, and he's desperate to create stuff in the online world and the mainstream world that actually means something and that people will actually want to consume. Yeah. And that takes priority for him over any sort of success or numbers. He really wants to create
really cares about what he does,
product. Yeah. And I've got a lot of respect for that.
You know, with the games that you're talking about, would that be, just to confirm, would that be all sorts of leagues? That would be EFL, Premier League? Would that be Europa League, foreign leagues as well? So what sort of content of games are you watching? Because I think of you as an expert on the abroad leagues as well, the La Ligas for this world, the Serie A's. You speak very well about that. So do you try and watch 90 minutes of them as well as the Premier League offerings?
So anything that's on TV, I'll watch. Yeah. So it's brilliant when the Europa League's on and the Conference League's on, because all those games are on TV, and not just live. You can watch a 50-minute version of all of them. Oh,
you don't need to tell me about the Europa League, Nieve. Last season, I was watching every game, watched the documentary back. I've watched Spurs' Europa League journey. Ask me any question. It was one of the greatest years ever.
Yeah, it's incredible. And do you know...
And you gave me an insight about Bodo Glimt, didn't you?
Well, the thing is as well, it's them. Like with someone like a Bodo Glimt, it's the reason why I was onto them was because I'd gone there. Yeah. And, you know, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say that I then have continued to watch in the Norwegian league, the Eliteserien, week in, week out. But you can pick up in one match if a player looks good or not. Yeah. And when I went to watch Bodo Glimt, I saw a player in midfield, Albert Grönbeck, and I was really like interested in him, thought he looked quality. So then when they played in Europe against Ajax later on in the season, that game was on TV. So it meant I could actually see them up against better opposition. Has he still got it? Well, yeah, he got man of the match. He was unbelievable. And then you sort of keep an eye when you can watch, sort of thing. And then before you know it, he got a transfer over to Southampton as well. So it's going to be even easier to consume and watch him. So yeah, I think I like to... It's weird. I've got this sort of tagline, I think, where people say, it's like edgy football talk because you sort of bring... But it's not that. It's just more that with my YouTube side of things, I've gone to some peculiar football countries, but also it just so happens that like my La Liga knowledge, my Bundesliga knowledge is not particularly that great aside from the top teams, but my Serie A knowledge is probably similar to my Premier League just because I watch it as much. It helps that I'm half Italian, but... I think it's intriguing as well. What I've learned from that is I think nowadays, I look back to when I used to consume content when I was a lot younger as a kid, sorry, football matches, you would be engrossed by it. Now there's so much content. It's very common for us to second screen as a consumer watching football. So you'll have your Sky Sports on the TV, but you might be flicking through X or Instagram, seeing what people are saying about it. You might also want to watch a watch along while you're doing it. So I think what's fascinating about you and what I'm getting as a critical reason why your knowledge is so good is that you'll actually sit down on your own, sounds like with your phone away, watching 90 minutes and make notes, which is probably why you're seeing that in a much different... I know a lot of pundits that do that as well, that are at the top of their game, but it's probably why you have such encyclopedic knowledge, because you have studied the game. I think, by the way, could you watch two football matches at the same time? I have done shows actually where we've had multiple games on, and it's very difficult to actually watch that game. Do you know how I watch football? It's a very good question that. If Tottenham are playing, I'm a Tottenham fan, I'll want to watch everything and be across every sub and seeing transitions and everything like that. I'll be really glued to it. If it's a game where I'm a neutral, I might watch it and then see what a watch along is saying, see what people on X are saying. And I like to have an all-rounding, encompassing knowledge of what the fans are talking about, how others... So it very much depends if it's a big game. If it's a North London derby, I want to be watching everything about that, hearing it. So I think it depends on the type of game, if that makes sense. Yeah, and also I feel like so if I anticipate that I might be talking about that game soon, So like I knew I was going doing a podcast with James and that we'd be talking about the Champions League final. And I obviously went to the Champions League final. So I'd had that perspective, but I thought that's not really enough. So then I since watched that game in full twice.
Have you?
But you know what it is? It's what's difficult sometimes is when you are trying to lock in with certain things, how easy you can miss other things.
Yeah.
We realised that when we were doing the DAZN show and you had me, Jules, Liez, James, the four of us, and we all kind of had our own thing that we'd pick up in the game. And it's amazing when you've got four people watching the same football game and you can see something different because if you're locked in, like I had noticed in one game, I really like what Caicedo was doing. So I'd locked in with him.
Yes, interesting.
And if you lock in with one player, what someone else is doing, it can actually pass you by kind of thing.
Do you know what? I think that's a great point. I remember in the live football elements I've done, so I've hosted like under 21 matches, Bundesliga games, some EFL games at Sky. And when you're in there, for those who don't know the process, when you're watching the first half, you'll sit with the pundits, the experts, and if it's, say, 3-0 at half time, you know that a large part of the halftime analysis will be talking about the goals. Yeah. If there's not a lot that's happened in the first half, you watch it with a guest and they will talk about what they've seen. And it is fascinating when you're sitting with particularly pundits or people that have done it a long time. It's amazing looking at that insight and what they've seen. I remember sitting with, I think it was Rob Green during one of the England under 21 games, and he was looking at, I think, just analysing it from a keeper's perspective for one of the penalties. And it was like so interesting getting that insight because he's looking at it from a completely different way that we're looking at it. And I think you only learn and get better with experiences like that, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's where punditry could go to a whole new level if we can get people to give more insight that's a little bit more focused on specifics within the game because there's so much that's going on in the game. You know, when when people maybe put something down to, I mentioned once that I wasn't a fan of when you hear a pundit maybe say that that person wanted it more kind of thing. Right. Because whilst that can be true, you know, in a moment, there's also so many things going on.
The nuances, the 1%, the things we don't know about.
And it's not even just like necessarily that's like a tactical breakdown as such, but because, you know, not every player on that pitch is going to know what the whole tactics of the whole team is. They'll have their own personal instructions. So it's good if you can have people that are like focused on maybe a key player and what they're doing to help contribute to the win. Are they like exceeding? Why are they the best player on the pitch and what are they doing?
That's an interesting way of looking at that. I know what you mean. It's not a data. There's no data that can back up how much a player wants it more. Whereas I know what you're saying. A lot of other elements of analysis you can break down by looking at statistics and everything is measured now. So yeah, that's a very interesting way of looking at it, actually. I want to ask you about your team now. How big is your team that runs StuntPegg's YouTube channel?
Well, it's absolutely huge in that it is one. It's just me.
You.
Yeah, just me.
I know that I've seen you at work filming and I'm aware of that. But are you telling me for a normal video then, you will come up, the creative, the ideology is you film it yourself, present it. We know you present it from watching your channel. Edit it, thumbnail, graphic design, upload. You do absolutely everything.
Yeah, and
why don't, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but how come you haven't got to it with how, I know how busy you are. And thank you for fitting me in, by the way, today. You've come all the way over here. I really, really appreciate that. How come it is just you still? I'm intrigued to know.
I'm total control freak.
Okay.
I like being on top of everything. It's even me, the pub quiz.
Yeah.
I'm the admin person for that, like sort the pub, all that kind of thing. I just like, if I'm going traveling with someone, I'm very happy to be the person that researches the place, sorts out the travel, accommodation. I just like doing things myself. But then with YouTube, I do think that because the editing on my YouTube is really not fancy, but I think if you're someone who does have that sort of fancy editing with the graphics, you're more likely to get someone to come and help you out because everyone can, you know, skilled in that can do that. Whereas with me, the editing's so reliant on me telling the story I want to tell and giving you, you know, it's, for example, let's say I go to Bake Up, which is a non-league club, 10th tier, and I'm chatting to Brent for 15 minutes, who's the manager of the club. I chat to Deborah, who looks after the clubhouse. I chat to her for 10 minutes. that really I'll end up reducing that to about 3 minutes each. So I want to get the absolute best things that were said there. And only I really know that. And you know what I want, the story I want to tell about these two characters in their club. And it means a lot to me that when I go to these football clubs that I do it justice, because my one big goal is I want you to learn from the video a little bit, but I also want you to be, by the end of it, I want you to be fond of the club that you've just watched the video about.
Have like a soft spot for them.
So it means a lot to me that I really do them justice.
Yeah.
So if that means that I have to be the one to do everything, then so be it, really.
You know what's interesting about that is I can really relate to that, actually. I remember when I was doing a lot of the football entertainment stuff in Soccer M before the Frankie Fryer stuff and the away days, and I used to produce the edit, script that. I used to edit it or produce the edit, do all the research, direct it, present it. I had a very much controlling element to that because I knew what worked for the audience. And you asked Tubes when he did his interviews, he'd be exactly the same. And we all had like ownership of our own sort of items, which was quite powerful. And I know exactly what you mean about wanting to control that because only you know when you're in front of the camera what the audience wants. So I completely get that. But what's interesting is I've had so many people sit in this seat of your level that have been very successful on YouTube that have said exactly the same thing. I don't want anyone else editing it, but it gets to a point where they're so busy they then have to start looking at employing editors. And I feel like you're at that stage where you are so busy. Is it inevitably going to come a time where you are looking for someone to join Team StuntPegg?
And the mad thing is, I don't know anybody around me that doesn't have an editor. I also think a lot of people that are just starting out also tend to get editors. And that's where I actually think maybe you could go the other way kind of thing. I feel like maybe people need to, if you want the craft to be fully your own and you want it to be your story and your character and what have you, then maybe actually you could do with having a bit more control over everything. And I'll never ever get an editor.
You'll never get an editor?
Yeah, it's far more likely that there'll just be less content.
So when you get to a stage inevitably, when you hit 1 million subs or something and you've got loads going on, you still think you'll do everything yourself at that stage?
Well, if that happened, yeah, I'd still be doing it all myself. But I'm not that mithered about growing. That's the thing. I'm not that mithered about. Yeah, I'm not mithered about hitting consistent patterns to try and break into algorithms or any of that. I've never really looked at the analytics before on my YouTube.
You've never looked at the analytics?
I just don't. I'm not mithered by it. I've got people who tell me they enjoy the stuff in the comment section, and that's enough for me. Like, you know, if or maybe they'll say what they'd like to see or things they'd like to improve, and I like listen to that too. And I'd rather just listen to what the human beings are saying. Do you know what I mean? And it's always been about that. And I'm not that bothered about how well the video does either, because if I'm happy with the video, I'm happy with the video. It's like it's this idea that the exact same video, like I think back to some of my favourite ones, like the Swindon Town one. Yeah, that whole video is probably one of my favourite ones I've ever done. And it did so well. Yeah. If it hadn't done well numbers-wise, does that change the video? No, it doesn't. It's still the same video. So as long as I'm happy with the product that I put out, then and I mean, and the people that are watching it, they say, oh, yeah, I really like this one, then that's fine for me.
We're looking at, actually. You're someone that gets so much love on socials, quite rightly so as well. Everyone talks about your opinion and, you know, gains a lot of insight from you. Sadly, on social media, you do get trolls. All of us, it is part of society. It's something that, you know, I hate, and a lot of people, I can't quite understand personally why you would log on to abuse someone you don't know. I've never sort of fully understood that, but sadly that does exist. How do you deal with when you do get people strongly critiquing opinions, and how do you deal, I suppose, generally with just people commenting and being in the public eye? And because your career's grown quite quickly, very quickly, if that makes sense, you've sort of gone to that level quite quickly. How do you sort of deal with all of that attention?
When I'm not doing stuff online, I stay away from social media.
Do you?
Yeah, very. In fact, I could probably do more on social media. Like I don't use most of the platforms on a day-to-day, because do you know what it is? It's not what's said. It's just that feeling that people feel they can speak to you in a certain way. It's become so normalized now in ways they would never talk to you in real life. Yeah. The language used, it's sometimes heavy words as well. Like you see people, including myself, like there's been huge, like it could be a comment on a 1 minute TikTok that's on Sky where you've talked about a footballer, and there might be a comment saying she's insufferable. And I think,
Does that affect you when people say things like that?
The actual comment itself doesn't. It's just the principle of it. Like how could you say such a big word from that one
when you've never met
clip?
the person?
That you know, and you see that about everyone, but that's just part and parcel of the online world. And you have, it's a horrible thing to say, but you have got to sort of just accept that that's what it is and just focus on the good side of it.
The other part of your story is, I don't know if you're happy to talk about this, and if you don't, we don't have to, but you were diagnosed, I remember you telling me, with ADHD and autism this year or last year, is that right?
Yeah, last year.
How did you find out about that diagnosis? And are you happy to talk about this for those people who might be experiencing something similar to what you're going through?
Yeah, my viewers actually were the ones, because I used to get comments. I remember I would get comments saying, "Oh, is she acoustic?" Right. And I still didn't know. Do you know what acoustic? No. Do you not know?
Oh, I think I do.
It's not to do with guitars, is what I'm going to say.
Referring to
it's a bit of cool slang for autism, and I'd have quite a lot of comments about it. The funny thing is, before I looked into it, it never crossed my mind that it was a thing. But now, since I know of it, I'm like, how did I not know? Right. How did my family not know? Really? Do you know? And I think because a lot of it, when you're doing assessments, a lot of it that they'll ask you about is your childhood. And when I'm saying things out loud and I'm saying about my experiences as a child and my type of character, it's like, as I'm saying it out loud, it's like dawning on me. Just like it was, there were signs. And it's where it's frustrating, I'd say, is when you are neurodivergent, the whole point of it is that you diverge away from what is in society accepted as normal behavior. And so it's going to make people uncomfortable, certain things that you do. And people aren't going to know, especially if you're high functioning like myself, in that people aren't going to know that it's down to being neurodivergent. Right. They might just think it's your character or personality. Yeah. And they're just negative traits. So people have a perception of you. And I've got this heightened desire to make sure that the people I'm with are okay and that they're having a good time and they're fine. So if I feel like the way I am is causing them, making them uncomfortable, it makes me really upset. So it's a constant challenge. Is that a daily challenge, would you say? Oh, every single day, yeah, because I'm just perceiving, did I come across rude then? Did I? So it's like, is it like it's like an overthinking, you're envisaging and overthinking scenarios before they happen, effectively. Yeah. And also so there's certain traits that might be perceived, because they're not normal, you might be perceived a certain way. So I don't naturally smile that much. Right. And so if you ever see me on a TV thing and you'd be looking at everyone else and they've got these big beams, and then you look at me and I don't look like I want to be there. Yeah. But because you just never... Because you have to sit next to me, I'm sorry about that. You're just fuming. But I'll get... Do you know, it causes so much frustration to a lot of people. Yeah, I get so many messages and comments because of it. People don't understand it. Does it come down to education, do you think? I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't personally really understand why it bothers people that I don't smile. I've never really understood why it's an issue, but it just seems to be. Also, I think I mentioned this to you before, that I tend to zone out a lot. And so, do you know when we were doing do you remember when you do the ball knowledge? Yes, yeah. Do you know that was an element of Saturday Social, like a quiz element we used to do within Saturday Social? Yeah, I zoned out a couple of times on that. There was when we did one of the quizzes. It was against Lawrence, and it was the stadium one, I think. Yeah. When you were explaining the rules, I'd completely zoned out, and then you did that thing at the end where you're like, happy with that, like that, and that was when I zoned back in. And I can't say live on TV. Yeah, could you just say all that again? Because I've just zoned out to a new realm. So I just went But I was like, so you were what on earth? I don't know what is about to happen. Really? I didn't even realize it was going to be stadiums. I completely was in my own world when you were explaining that. Wow. I just completely, and I'm not thinking of anything. I'm just, but it's weird as when you find out that you're neurodivergent, everything you do in your head, you're thinking, right, is this just because of who I am, or is it because I'm neurodivergent? Yeah. And there's so many things in a day to day, and I'm open and I'll be like, do you also do this to someone who's neurotypical? Yeah. And they don't do it. Yeah. So for example, do you talk to the TV / the radio? No, I wouldn't talk to TV. Sometimes if you're watching something you have a passion for, like football, you might,
talk to it? Just say, pass the ball, and then realise they can't hear you or something like that. But no, not
that is
traditionally.
that's a daily occurrence for me.
Is it?
But I didn't
Give us an
realise that's
example.
not something. So I do so the radio is a really good one because I listen to radio too.
Yeah.
Just all throughout the day.
Yeah.
And I'll regularly chat back to them. Like I'll just be cooking my tea. Ryland's on doing his couch potato quiz. And he'll say, when he says like, oh, correct. And he'll say like, well done. No, he's not saying well done to me, but if I got it right, I'm like, oh, cheers, Ryland.
Do you?
Kind of thing.
And so you actually say cheers, Ryland, in that scenario?
Yeah.
Do you?
I'm always, but I didn't realise that I thought we all just did that. So it's funny how much day-to-day stuff that is a bit rogue.
I think what's important about that is you look at it as quite a positive element. You're happy to talk about it. You're happy to educate people about it. And that's, credit to you that you don't see it as a negative aspect for you. That's just part of who you are. Similar to me, I'm a type 1 diabetic and I like to talk about it to educate people because I don't expect people to know about it if you don't have the condition. But we all have some, not everyone is exactly the same. And I think I look at that in positive aspects. And do you look at the same with your condition?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure you'll feel the same in that you don't want people to be afraid to ask questions and be inquisitive about it.
I much prefer when someone asks me.
Because I think it's nice to know that somebody knows as well, to know that they know the full story.
Totally agree.
So if there's maybe something negative that or when it's something's a bit more frustrating, that they can be more understanding about it because they're aware of it. Like, don't get me wrong, like it can be debilitating at times being neurodivergent. But then there's also aspects that I love about being it. So I'm always happy to talk about it.
That's a really good way of looking at it. It's an amazing point as well. I want to talk about some of the highlights of your channel because you have been to a lot of places. You must have good air miles because you travel a lot, although it sounds like you do it the longer way. But top 5 places. So best places you've been to watch football.
Oof. Probably say every
in
time.
Reverse order. Let's go 5 to 1.
5.
Are you doing this by atmosphere or just enjoying? How are you doing this?
Well, maybe not atmosphere, because I might just do 5 very, very random ones.
Go on,
the first ones that sort
the
of come
best
to mind.
5 places that Nieve has visited football in reverse order. Number 5.
But it's going to be for their own reasons.
I love it. Go on.
Do you know what? I'm gonna say Bacup Borough 5.
Okay.
Do you know that was one of the times where I've come away from it thinking you guys are legends. Like Brent and Deborah have committed over 20 years to this football club.
Yeah.
Just purely for the community.
I like that.
It's so selfless.
So that's 5.
Yeah.
4th best place you've been to watch football.
Let's go for El Clasico.
Oh,
that was incredible.
I've done El Clasico as well.
Yeah. Oh, did you do it at which stadium did you do it?
I did it at the Nou Camp.
Did you? I'd love to do that. I did it at the Olympic Stadium that Barcelona are currently at. It was this most recent one. Yeah. Absolutely, like the football on show.
Yeah.
Like, oh my days.
So that's 4.
Yeah. Number 3, we will go with. Yeah, we'll go for Werder Glimt Tromsø.
Yeah.
I've done both of them, like both at the 2 stadiums. Yeah. So they're a local derby, but they're hundreds of miles away from each other. But it's right, like Tromsø is the most northern
it's in the Arctic
football
Circle,
club in Europe. The Norwegian people are just ace.
Yeah.
They're my favourite people.
Okay, so that's the reason behind that. I like the reasoning as well. That's good. Second?
Second, we will go with Witzew.
Where's that?
In Poland.
Oh, okay.
Ekstraklasa. And part of that is because Angelica, who works for Ekstraklasa, and Jakub, who works for the club.
I love the fact you're going down to people. Love it.
Passionate. And they were so proud of that, like of the football in Poland. Yeah. And Jakub was so proud of the club and the stuff he had to say. It was like you could see this really meant something. And also, Polish football fans are so underrated. They're so passionate, and the pyro tifo displays are just unbelievable.
You know, I've done a few. I've done Krakow. I've done Warsaw. I've done. Where else have I done? One other. The name escapes me now. Gdansk. That's in Poland, isn't it?
Yeah. Gdansk.
I've done that. Go on. So then finally, and I love your reasons behind this. A lot of them is down to the people that you can remember by name, which I love. The best place you've ever watched football in the world.
I'm going to say that the best place is, actually, for a very specific reason, it was actually Wembley. and it was England versus Germany. The return fixture after lockdown.
Yeah.
When it was a reduced capacity stadium.
At the Euros?
Yeah.
I was at the game. The Harry Kane header.
Oh, my days, yeah.
Atmosphere was insane, wasn't it?
I've since, before and since never ever had anything like it.
Yeah. Do you know what? I like that. Is it cheating slightly to go Wembley? I love the rogue factor. You go down Bodo Glimt.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I was at that game and it's a great reason. It was amazing. So you're doing that based on the experience.
But you make a good
atmosphere.
point. It's not if I'm trying to be on brand and be
StuntPegg, is it?
different, then that's not a good route to go down.
It was amazing though, to be fair. If you want to stick with that, you can stick with that.
I'll be thinking now tonight about all the ones I didn't say.
What about then underrated football ground? Is there anywhere that we've been to? Because you've been to places we haven't been. Like I've been to Wembley, I've been to a few of them. But is there anywhere that you've been as a trip that you thought this is so underrated as a place or a stadium?
Ooh. Do you know, I'd probably say, right, it's bringing it back to sort of around the sort of North Europe. But when I went to Sweden, I've been to Sweden, Norway, Denmark, all three of them. And they're pretty like big on football. They're so organised as well, the supporters. Yeah. Especially in Norway and in Sweden too, to be fair, with the TIFO displays, and they've got ultras groups, but they go about it in just such a good way. Like they're when I've actually been to games, I've turned up maybe 2 hours, 3 hours before the game, and they're there putting in the prep.
Yeah, I like that.
And the fans will, well, for example, when I went to Tromsø, they were basically cleaning the snow off the seats so that they could put, and also setting it all up so that when the fans arrive, they've got all they're in position and what have you. And it means an awful lot to them. But I think because naturally as people, they're quite laid back characters, and that they wouldn't view footballers. I was chatting naturally to a Norwegian once, and he was basically saying, Eric, he was saying that if Haaland walked the streets of Norway, it wouldn't be like if Messi walked the streets of Argentina, or like the way that footballers are idolised. Yeah. In Norway, they're really respected, but it's not that same thing. They're a bit more calm, casual about it, and I really like that.
You seem to have a real passion for Scandinavian countries. Is there one sort of set of fans you think have been best atmosphere that you've witnessed? Is there one atmosphere that you've witnessed that's topped it?
Probably say in terms of the atmosphere in the ground, Lech Poznan, back to Poland.
Poznan, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Do you know what? It's funny you should say that. The games I went to in Poland were outrageous.
So loud.
Yeah.
So
that takes it for you.
Yeah.
I like that. Let's tap into some of your knowledge as well about football. Obviously, we've got the new season fast approaching. How do you see the Premier League season going? Who do you think is going to win the Prem?
Ooh. There's so much more to be done to each team, isn't there? Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm really fascinated to see how City get on, because they're obviously going through a real transition, aren't they? But I love all the players that they've signed. So I'm very excited to see Reinders. I'm excited to see Ryan Shirky as well, as he'll get better in the team. Marmoush building a relationship with Haaland. I think they keep having little blips in between good patches. Yeah. And the good patches are going to get longer and longer, aren't they? So throughout the season. So I think I'd be concerned about them.
Okay. And in terms of, you mentioned a lot of players transfer market there. You make a good point. We're at this stage while we're filming, the window's still open. We don't know quite how all the teams are how much business they're going to do. If I were to ask you 5 players that are destined for the Premier League, so players that you've seen, maybe players that we might not be aware of. Are there any players? Because Reinders is one that on Saturday Social you were talking about for years was destined for the Premier League. He's in the Premier League. Who would you say would be on that list?
So watching the Club World Cup, I spotted Richard Rios, who's a midfielder, a really good midfielder, and he exhibits qualities where he's got that. He's good on the turn. He's very good at making those quick, instinctive passes. His movement's great. I think he'd suit the Premier League as well. And also I feel like the South American intensity is a bit, it's fascinating. I watched an interview, Bayern Munich interview, and there was a mention made about how the intensity is a different type of intensity, but it's just as intense. So it could translate well. I do naturally tend to lean into Serie A just purely because I watch it. So it's like I'm not going to try and pluck players out of stuff I don't watch as much. But I thought Anjo Amboni was going to make the Premier League move, but he looks like he's making the move to Inter instead. which is fascinating. I think Lorenzo Luca could do a job in the Prem just because he's absolutely massive. So he'd be good for
It's a great reason.
in the box as well. Loves a header. Just
there's
keep
three.
going on Serie A.
Yeah.
And then looking towards the EFL as well. I always think it's nice to get talents
let's
from
chat
there.
EFL. Good
Do you know
shout.
who I really liked? Poku, who played for so I watched him in the Bristol Street Motors final for Peterborough, and QPR have just signed him. And what I loved about him was that he was really strong and audacious as well on the ball. Like he always looked to drive forward and he beat men with it. I think that it's natural for him to move to the Championship, but I think that he's Premier League.
As a progression, he'll be Premier League player.
Yeah,
Are there any other? That's 4 great names. Any other EFL? It's a great shout, actually. Young EFL players you think will make the step up? Future Eze's, people like that you can see in the Championship. It's hard. I've thrown that at you quite.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have to wait until the season starts and sort of.
Yeah.
Do you know something though? Because Wrexham have just been promoted, and but I don't know if he's still at Wrexham or if he's being snapped up somewhere else. But Max Cleworth last season was in League One with Wrexham, and he centre back. You could see real traits from him where you thought, his understanding of the game looks pretty good. So the ceiling could be pretty high.
I love that. Love that insight. We're going to keep an eye out for all 5 of them as the next couple of years they all sign. Ballon d'Or, future Ballon d'Or winner. Who'd you look at? Young players. Is it the obvious Yamal?
Yeah, Yamal's an obvious one.
He's an obvious nailed on one. Any other young players that you've seen abroad that you think have got a ridiculous ceiling that could potentially be a Ballon d'Or winner?
Do you know, I actually think that if it's not this season, there's still going to be opportunity for Ousmane Dembele to actually win one because he plays in such a pivotal role for a team that could end up dominating a lot of
Do you think they will? Do you think they will dominate for years?
But it never really ends up working like that, I don't think. I know that Real Madrid have had their times where they obviously did the 3-peat and what have you, but it never works that way because in a 90-minute game of football, it's like the quality of players against players, people will be able to beat them. But they certainly look scary when they play. So they are going to have more success than not, and they're going to dominate France.
That Champions League final was so one. I mean, it statistically is the most one-sided Champions League final ever, but I was blown away by how one-sided that was.
Yeah, and also watching them since watching that
because you've covered a lot of the Club World Cup.
Yeah, they've torn apart teams without even Dembele wasn't even playing in those games. So when he comes back.
So you don't think Spurs can beat them then in the Super Cup? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
do you think they're just favourites? Yeah.
No, I think that quite a lot of the attack though. Actually, Desiree Doué is still very raw, but in the future, because he's that sort of audacious kind of player that's looking to have those star moments in the big games. Yeah, that's what seems to win you the Ballon d'Or. Really, not necessarily the whole season. Yeah. So it was based on the whole season. I reckon you'd see different winners to what you actually see, whereas a lot of it, I think, is based on those key pivotal moments.
Yeah. I love tapping into that insight, Nieve. I love it. Just finally, as we sort of wrap it up, what would you say has been your highlight of your career so far? It could be a specific YouTube video. It could be something you've done outside of YouTube. Just keen to know, because you've broken into the mainstream as well, haven't you? So I'm just keen to know what your highlights have been, looking back on a career that you're still in the prime of.
Yeah. I'd say the highlight moments for me have been, I think, I'm really proud that I've built the community I've built on YouTube.
Yeah, it should be.
Because they're actually a really good bunch. Like my audience is a brilliant audience.
Yeah.
And that's really not easy to do because when you're building numbers, there's lots of different ways that people will want to build numbers. Yeah. Whereas because I've done it quite slowly and organically, I've been in control of who my audience are because they're just specific people that want to see the sort of content I produce, which is all about embracing football fans and our differences and our similarities. So I'm really proud that I've actually got an audience that, because they're so good, they've always got my back. Yeah. And it's something you said you've noticed. It's like if there's a bit of negativity about me from the mainstream world, people who might not know me, my community, the people who
Got a
know
great
me, like,
core audience, but-
they've got that respect up my back.
Yeah, I'm going to say something very complimentary, but I think you've earned that and you've deserved that. Like everything that I've learned in this podcast, you've spoken about you being from working class background, female in a male dominated sport, and everything you've had to overcome, and how honest you've spoken and openly you've spoken about your relationship with your family. I think what you've built is so much. You should take so much credit for what you've built and the audience that you have built up. So I don't think that should be a surprise to you. I think that's credit to what you have built up. So is that the proudest thing then, the community you've built up? Does that go ahead of one video or one person you've met? Because we haven't even spoken about some of the people you've interviewed. Do you want to name drop some of the people you've interviewed quickly?
Yeah, so I've been so fortunate.
The best first touch in Premier League history you had on your channel recently?
Yeah.
Dimitar?
I know what that Berbatov, I was so proud of that because it was just us one-on-one chatting for like half an hour, and he was really good. He was brilliant.
He's a cool guy, isn't he?
I've met Terry Henry a couple of times, which is always a bit mad.
It's cool saying a couple of times.
But the thing is though, is the issue I've got is the reason why I forget to talk about that is because, and I don't know if this is my neurodivergence, but I've got a really distorted sense of hierarchy with human beings. So to me, in the same way that Jacob from Vidsev Łódź and his knowledge of that club and passion for that club, I come away from that just as like, oh, I'm glad I've met him in the same way as a footballer. So,
brilliant,
you know,
that's a great way to look at that. Judging people as you judge people as you meet them.
Exactly. I've got respect. And it's never that I've not got the respect for the footballers because what they do is incredible. They're elite athletes.
Yeah.
But how good they are at what they do is how good the other people are at what they do.
Yeah.
So there's like, I don't see that, like my mum is an incredible teacher.
Yeah.
She's incredible at that.
Yeah.
A footballer is incredible at football.
Great way,
and it's just the same thing.
Everyone's just a human being at the end of the day. Final question then. What is the goal for Nieve in the next sort of 5-10 years? Where do you see yourself? Is it football? Is it comedy? Give us a little, you can give us an exclusive if you want.
Yeah. Maybe I'll be on radio too. Maybe I'll have to talk to them. I'll just actually get me and Rylan
I'd love to see that.
I'll do. Otherwise, I'll just maladaptive daydreaming. It's called when you just daydream that you're doing something. Yeah. So I'll just stick to doing that. That's why I pretend I'm on the Graham Norton show.
Yeah, do you?
So I think just more. It's not necessarily like I've not necessarily got goals. Maybe I could be a bit more ambitious and stuff and have those goals. But for me, it's always more about just being true to myself and being a good person because it does mean a lot to me. I think because I've been brought up that way, that'll always mean like an awful lot to me and just trying my best. I don't ever want to put too much pressure on myself either because there's plenty of days where I wake up in the morning and I just feel really rubbish and I don't want to do anything. Yeah. So, unfortunately because of that, I don't think I'll ever be too driven or, but I quite like that because I think to be driven in this industry, you might sometimes have to be ruthless and cutthroat, and that's never really been my style. No. So, yeah.
So wait and see.
Yeah,
love it,
we'll
Nieve.
see.
What advice, lastly, would you have for people that are following in your footsteps? You talk about creating a pathway for people. What advice, just last question, would you have for people that want to follow in what you're doing?
As we watch, we always see like trends where you've got different editing styles are really the big thing, and then everyone kind of does it. There's nothing more you can do that's individual than be you. So don't ever use like editing as a crutch or anything like that. Please just try and be the amount of people who I think are hilarious. Then you put a camera in front of them and they just change because they can't do it. Yeah. So try your best to translate yourself and how you are with your mates or your family to the online world.
That's a great point. I think it's the perfect note to end it. Nieve, thank you. For those that don't know as well, you've given up your time. You're extremely busy. You're working crazy hours as well. So thank you so much. I've got so much time for you. We love having you on the show. I love having you on the podcast. I wish you so much success and happiness for the future. It's been amazing getting to know you a bit more. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.